Hello and welcome to Rick Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Shaw. I'm delighted to be joined all the way from Ibrox by my esteemed colleague Andy Newport. Andy, how's it going?
I'm warmer than I was the last couple of times I spoke to you. I've got about 19 different layers on, Daniel, so that's all you can ask for on a night like tonight.
Brilliant. And a night like tonight, it is a blockbuster classic Battle of Britain, a mouth-watering tie, and just a brilliant night for Rangers to go and potentially grab a famous win.
It should be a cracker. I mean, we've all been spent the last couple of days talking about what sort of atmosphere we're expecting here tonight, and I'm expecting something to be pretty special. I think it's going to be a firecracker. So it's got all the ingredients. Obviously, as you mentioned, all the tabloid puns that we spoke about yesterday, all the Battle of Britain stuff to go in. But you got a couple of former Celtic employees coming in. That should add a wee bit of spice to proceedings, and just a big game for both teams. Rangers take a huge. We were thinking 10 points would be enough for qualification to the playoff rounds. I'm seeing now it might be 11, might be the definite benchmark. So if Rangers can get a point tonight, that puts them there. If they can get 3, then they've got a right good chance of even thinking going forward and going straight into the last 16. And for Ange Postecoglou, it's a huge game. He's right under the cosh down in London right now. He's desperate for a victory. Last thing he needs is to come back up to Glasgow and slip up. So yeah, it's got all the ingredients.
On the Ange thing, Andy, there's no doubting that Rangers obviously want to win. It'd be a famous scalp, but getting one over on Ange Postecoglou, and even Fraser Forster, who'll play tonight as well, that makes it extra special for Rangers fans, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Or does it?
Well, yeah, no, I think it does. I think there's a wee bit of payback. That'll be part of their thinking. Obviously, Ange Postecoglou. We'll remember that he was sort of derided when he arrived here. What was it, 2.5 years ago? 3.5 years ago, sorry. People were like, "Well, who is this guy?" There wasn't much known about him. Obviously, the chat around the time was that Celtic were desperate to get Eddie Howe in. He was seen as a sort of second choice to that. But wow, did they ram down any of the doubters' words back down their throats? 5 trophies out of 6. 11 derbies, won 6 of them, only lost 3. 2 of them were here right enough, so I think he'll have a part of him will want to try and set that record straight. But listen, there's plenty to be excited about. It's going to be a special night.
Do you know the thing is as well, Andy? I know Philippe Clement obviously made the comments about financially Spurs are out of Rangers League, and I think everyone would accept that. But I was watching the Spurs Chelsea game at the weekend, and I kind of worked out that the team had cost 400 million. Having said that, it doesn't look like a team that cost that. It really doesn't. I mean, this is definitely a beatable team.
On current form, listen, there's bags of quality down there. There's not a single player on that Spurs team that Rangers could afford right now. So I think we've got to get that into context. This is a huge test for this Rangers team. And by the way, a Rangers team that, there's nothing certain about them. In terms of their form, they've been better the last 4 games, but it's 4 games. You can't be taking anything for granted with them. They've got to perform at the levels they have been for the last few weeks. But listen, if Spurs turn up and play at their best as they did a month ago when they beat Man City 4-0, they'll win this easy. So listen, I think if Rangers to get any result will be a huge ask. It will take them being an absolute peak performance, 100% performance, and Spurs to come some way off that. Listen, the way things are going right now, could you argue against that? Could you forecast against that? Probably. No. I think it's not out with the realms of possibility. Philippe Clement in his press conference talking about his memories as a player going up against the AC Milan team with all the big names, Seedorf, Shevchenko, Cafu, getting a result. His Monaco team went up against PSG that had all the big names, the Neymars, the Messis, the Mbappe's. I again managed to get a couple of results against them. So these things aren't impossible, but it does take absolute almost flawless performance. It'll need to be something close to that for Rangers if they are to get anything tonight.
We're obviously still waiting in team news, Andy. Let me throw this at you though. Jimmy Mack in the comments section saying Tav should play tonight but not on Sunday. Discuss. So do you think that's likely to happen?
Wouldn't surprise me. Listen, what I would say about James Tavernier is that generally this season his performance levels have been way down, and I think that's hardly surprised. He's 33. For all that he's insists that he still feels as good as ever, I think the fact that at some point your body starts to sort of let go of the levels you were once reaching. So I think at 33, it's no surprise to see him come away but off that. And he looked like he was a guy in desperate need of a break. He got that, but since he's come back into the team, he's looked not as good as ever, but certainly as if he's trending back up the way. So, does he deserve to keep his place tonight? Then yeah, I think he does. On current form, I think he's performing well enough to stay in the team. But as we discussed a couple of times last week, Daniel, when it comes to Tavernier against Celtic, we've seen enough. Even when Tavernier was on form, he found Dazen Maeda such a difficult prospect to handle that if I just think it's what has Philippe Clement got to gain by sticking by him? If he goes in there and it pans out how it has done in the last few encounters against Celtic, where he gets basically roasted off of Dazen Maeda, then it's all the blame goes on to Philippe Clement's shoulders. If he does what everyone thinks he should do and puts Dujon Sterling in there, then at the very least he's protected himself from whatever backlash may happen if the result on Sunday doesn't go for him. So I would expect to see Tavernier start tonight, but take a seat on the bench at Hampden.
And the one kind of blow to Rangers tonight is the fact that Danilo and Hagi are ineligible, and I would put to you, Andy, that they're the two players that have made a very significant difference in this kind of resurgent form for Rangers, and it's mad that they're not eligible to play tonight.
Well, them and Agamani. I think Agamani's had a huge role. The three of them coming in were just, for their own reasons, just an enthusiasm to play. They've, Agamani want to come in, prove himself. Danilo and Hagi because they've been out the team through injury and other reasons. There's a desire for them and excitement, and I think that's filtered throughout the rest of the squad. Yeah, listen, is it mad that the two of them left out? No, because Hagi was nowhere near the squad at the start of the season. Whether you agreed with that or not, obviously the contractual row, I think, given how little creativity was in this Rangers side, that was an issue that had to have been sorted out far sooner. So yeah, maybe he should have been in the European squad, but Danilo just wasn't fit enough to, at the point early on in the campaign where it would have been worthwhile. Obviously Rangers not having enough Scottish homegrown players in their squad, I've had to sacrifice a couple of selection, so somebody had to miss out, and then just obviously his fitness record at that moment, it had to be Danilo. But listen, I think Danilo would have played. I'm not sure Yanis Hagi would have played tonight. I think they need legs in midfield, and I think that's maybe why Diamande, who I think will play tonight, and I think he would have got the nod over Hagi regardless. I think Rangers are going to need guys that can get about the park, get up and down the park, make tackles and break at speed. That has to be the game plan. That has to be the tactics. It's what served them well in Europe so far, and it'll have to be what they're looking to do tonight, because as I said, Spurs are levels, miles and millions ahead of this Rangers team on a good day. And if they aren't a good day today,
Paul Lynch in the comment section saying the flip side is that Danilo and Hagi will be fresh for the weekend, which I think is actually a fair point. Where would this rank, Andy, in terms of Rangers' greatest kind of European nights? Because I said last night to our colleague Keith Jackson, if Rangers win tonight, I would put this up there with almost anything. This would be a very famous, big, one of the biggest nights in Rangers history potentially. He disagreed, but
listen, I think anytime Rangers or any Scottish club can get one over in a English opposition, it's a special night just because of that local rivalry type thing. Listen, as I said, Spurs aren't in a great moment right now, and I'll be interested to see what kind of team they put out. They've been sort of mixing and matching between their regulars and some of their fringe men in Europe, and I kind of suspect that might be the case again tonight, because I think Ange Postecoglou's got bigger issues to concern himself with in the Premier League, and he won't want to risk guys given the injury situation he's facing. But listen, they're not a peak European team at this moment. Spurs, they're a very, very good team. They've spent a lot of money, but are they they're not champions as Leeds were when they came here. I'm trying to think here. Obviously Rangers get a 0-0 draw against that all-conquering Barcelona team back in 2007. So those were special nights. This would be a special night just because of the local rivalry aspect. But yeah, would it be the very peak? No, maybe just one rung down.
And just before we let you go, Andy, how do you see it going tonight? What's your prediction?
Oh, I've not even been asked that yet. I've not
It's a
even
tough
thought
one.
about that. Listen, I get slaughtered for these all the time because invariably I get them wrong. Listen,
Join the club.
I think a draw would. I think Rangers are with the atmosphere this place is capable of, and a really good performance. And if Spurs aren't quite at it, I think there's no reason why they can't get a draw. And listen, if they can get themselves into the game an hour in and they're still in touch with Spurs, then then they can look to go from beyond that. But I don't think a draw's out with the realms of possibility. I'll go 1-1.
Tonight.
1-1.
1-1. Elsewhere tonight in the Conference League, it's still Copenhagen 0, Hearts 0. Andy, we're going to throw now to some of the comments in the press conference from both Ange Postecoglou and Philippe Clement. Thank you very much for joining us, and I hope it's an absolute cracker for you.
Cheers, Daniel. Speak to you soon.
Cheers, Andy. Here's what the Rangers and Spurs boss had to say yesterday.
Philippe, there's been moments this season that have been difficult, but the last few weeks have been encouraging. There's certain signs of positivity coming through. Given that Spurs are, the favourites for this game, you would say, with the budget they have, I mean, does this feel like a no-pressure match that you can go in? It's almost a free hit for your team.
Yeah, but I want pressure. I don't want no pressure and we're going to go outside and we play a game and we will see if we're going to win or not. That's totally not what I want. No, I want that we put pressure on ourselves to win every game. Like I wanted before also with my other teams to do that. If you speak about the past, going with Bruce to Real Madrid or Paris Saint-Germain, getting results there was also a huge difference. So, no, I want this mentality that they fight from the first second until the last second to get the result and to believe in that also. And I believe also that this team has the quality to do that. And I'm happy also the last couple of weeks that people start to see also more and more these qualities. This is going to be the next step for a few players. It will be the first time that they play at this level. So that's going to be the next interesting test. It's not an exam that they're going to die or not. It's not that. But it's going to be a really interesting test who makes another jump again. And that's what we need as a club to make next jumps.
When the draw came out, it was the one that was most of interest to me because of, I guess, my history up here. And looking forward to it. Should be a good game, and also, like I said, in the context of sort of where we are in Europe, important game. I think important game for both clubs. A positive result gets you a good way to getting through the knockout stages. So looking forward to it. When I was up here, particularly in my first year, I mean, they made the Europa League final, so I got a pretty clear idea of how challenging it is to play them here in front of that crowd and the atmosphere, but at the same time exciting. You're looking forward to big games, and I'm sure the players are as well. Probably the domestic season hasn't gone as in the league anyway. It's gone as well as they would have liked. But you can tell there's still the elements there of quality. They're in the cup final on the weekend, and they've done really well in Europe. So. I guess for us, it's a one-off game, and in one-off games, you're always looking at how teams perform when they're at their best, and at their best they've shown they're still a good outfit, and like I said, a good challenge for us.
Right, we've had plenty of opinions on the Rangers narrative, that side of things, but what do the Spurs fans down south make of Ange Postecoglou? In order to get a better insight, I caught up with Daily Mirror's senior sports writer Neil McLeman earlier on today, and here's what he had to say. Neil, thanks so much for joining us on the Hotline Live. I've just said to you off here that Ange Postecoglou up here, he's almost a celestial, godlike being, particularly to Celtic fans. But I think it's fair to say that's not the case at the moment amongst the Spurs faithful. Is that fair?
I think opinions are divided on him, and I also think he's bought himself a bit of time. I mean, when he came in last summer, so like 18 months so effectively, no one was expecting him, and he had such a great start, and he won people over with the attacking style. I mean, they're at the top of the table in November last season. Obviously, this season there have been issues, and they're on a pretty bad run. 1 win in 7. So, a month or so ago, this match, Rangers against Tottenham, you'd be thinking with this, the form Rangers are in, and Tottenham went to Man City and won 4-0. You'd have thought, this should be a bit of a walk in the park for Tottenham. Things have changed a little bit, and the pressure has turned round on Ange. and he does need a result in these next few days. They've got they've got 3 big games coming up in this next week. So Rangers tonight, there is Southampton away on Sunday, and then there's Manchester United in the Carabao Cup next Thursday. So, and this is in the context of a big injury list for Spurs. So, this, if Spurs lost against Rangers tonight, it wouldn't be the end of the world in the season, because you've got a couple more Europa League fixtures. But the way things are going, it would be a bit of an embarrassment for Spurs, and also very unhelpful for Ange.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing, Neil, that caught my eye, I was watching the Chelsea game at the weekend, and just looking about online. I know the money in England is obscene, but that Spurs team cost in the region of £350 million. And going through it, I mean, good players, but it doesn't look like it's, that sort of money's been spent on it. Is that how the Spurs fans kind of feel?
I think there's been an issue with Spurs and the money they've spent and the way they've spent it over the last few years. And famously in 2018, when Pochettino they didn't buy one person in the transfer window. And that was when they were building the stadium. And they've now got this amazing stadium. I don't think you guys have been there, but it's like one of the best in Europe. It's like space age, absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And so the expectation was you spend all these years, you pay for the stadium, and then once you should be competing up there. And this summer was interesting, and we talk about the transfer strategy. They bought Solanke for 65 million, who was a really good signing, quality player, and he's definitely improved them. Then they bought 3 teenage players for the future, who really, Archie Gray maybe I'll be starting as an emergency centre back tonight, but they haven't really immediately improved the team. And I think that's an issue. And so Cristiano Romero gave an interview earlier this start of the week, basically saying, well, the managers and the players always seem to get the blame, but the guys upstairs don't. And they're pretty much talking about Chairman Daniel Levy. So there is an issue there. There's a club that seems to have everything going for it, because it doesn't win anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, up here, Neil, it definitely feels like looking in, that Spurs fans, it's a bit unclear what Spurs fans want. Do they want to challenge for trophies and honours? It doesn't really matter how they play, or do they just want to play good football? Because it feels like Ange has brought attacking, handbrake off football, but they're not really any closer to winning anything, and they seem frustrated.
I know what you're saying, because I think even Spurs fans are divided on it, even amongst themselves, because you've got a Spurs team that is so inconsistent. Even within a match, they're capable of absolutely brilliant displays, and the next game or the second half being absolutely awful. So that's where, and the issue has been with Spurs fans a couple of years ago, they were fed up with, Conte and Mourinho and Espirito Santo, the dull football they were playing there, that they weren't winning anything. And at least the football's entertaining. And a lot of some saying, well, if we're not going to win anything, at least let's be entertaining with it. Mm-hmm. But, I do think they should be looking for a little bit more. And I think one of the issues with Postecoglou has been, his tactical inflexibility, that, you can play with your handbrake off and gung-ho, most of the time, as they did at the start of last season. But you've got to make a little bit of adjustments here and there. And I think that is one of the things that Spurs fans are looking at. And also, he didn't help himself confronting the away fans at Bournemouth last week. Yeah. And Celtic fans will know he's got form for doing that. And and that's one of the great appeals of him. If he's got something to say, he's going to say it. But, picking fights with your fans as well is maybe not the greatest thing as well. So, yeah, it's, I think they'd be mad to get rid of him personally. But, it can't carry on like this. That's the long and short of it.
Well, that's what I was going to ask next, Neil. He's been so wedded to his style of play, his philosophy, for want of a better phrase. But watching Spurs week in, week out, do you get the impression that he will bend, he will change?
Well, you tell me. I think he's going to have to. I think it's just the little tweaks about, you watched that Chelsea game the other day, and they effectively had one holding midfield, and the Chelsea were picking them off the whole time, finding so much space in the midfield. So the amount of analysis, and the Premier League is so competitive, and the opposition are analysed to such an extent, and the way they prepare for these games as well. Maresca's gone into Chelsea this season and made adjustments to his team virtually every week, and to try and get these players and get them playing the way he wants. And other teams don't know what to expect every week. And it's one of the appeals of Postecoglou that it's great to watch, that they're going to go for it. Because also one of his weaknesses, the other team know what they're going to do. So I think it's going to be fascinating that how he adjusts and reacts to these games going forward. And especially, the team he picks tonight, the way they play. these next few weeks, especially as they've got so many injuries. You see, it's the worst injury crisis of his career. They've got one recognised centre back. How they react.
What is Ange expected to do this? What is his season objectives, Neil? I mean, if he finishes, I don't know, 5th or 6th in the league, doesn't win a trophy, is that enough to keep him into a third season at Spurs?
The big 6 or 7 in the Premier League all want in Champions League football. So a bit which may well be 5th place this year just because of the coefficient for the Premier League clubs. So either Champions League football or a trophy. And Ange's very enjoys saying that he's always wins a trophy in his second year. And he's still got 3 chances. The Europa League is not out yet, whatever happens tonight. Carabao Cup, which is next Thursday, which is a big game. Obviously still the FA Cup. So he's still got 2 ways to do it. I think if next summer they are down in, certainly if they're 11th place as they are now, and haven't won anything, that is going to be, a review time, to say the least, of what he's achieved in the 2 years. So the league form has got to improve, and they are capable of winning a cup because, as I say, they're capable of the inconsistency is bad for them in the Premier League, but they're capable of beating pretty much anyone on their day in a cup competition. So they've certainly got a chance of silverware.
I don't mean to put you in the spot, Neil, but what is your gut feeling? How do you think this is all going to work out with Ange Postecoglou at Spurs?
I think he will stay. I think he'll do enough this season. I don't think that the Spurs have got to bite the bullet sometimes and back someone. They've made so many changes since Pochettino left in 2019. There's virtually a manager every season they've been got through. And it's got to come a time when you've got to say, this is the guy, we're going to back him and give him another window to bring in. I think the issue was that the summer, and Postecoglou has owned the transfer dealing, but they didn't really push on the squad enough last summer. So if he can do enough for this summer, to this season, to justify getting in more players in the summer. Otherwise, Spurs are going to be back to square one, and they're going to be looking for another manager who's going to try and change the style. There's no one obvious to come in now or even in the summer. So, I just think he's got to improve things a lot depending on the injury list. And, pick things up, a trophy or top 4.
And just very finally, Neil, I know you don't watch Rangers or Celtic week in, week out, but what's your feeling on how tonight's going to go? Do you expect Tottenham to win? I
was really impressed with the Nice performance. I watched a bit of that the other week. And so it depends on Spurs, what kind of team they are going to put out. It'd be interesting to see how important Spurs judge this fixture in the context of the next week and 10 days, and how many big players they put out. If they put out as much as they can to a first strength team with Kulusevski, with Son, with Solanke up front, definitely expect Spurs to win. Mm-hmm. If they're trying to moderate it and try and looking at the result of the game against Southampton and also looking ahead to the Manchester United game, I think it's going to be close. So I think there's a lot depends on the Spurs lineup. I think if they put out as close as a strong as Spurs team, they should win tonight.
Yeah. Neil, I hope it's an absolute cracker for you at Ibrox tonight. I hope it's a really good game. Safe travel home when the time comes as well. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks very much. A pleasure. Nice to speak.
As you can see at the bottom of your screen, in tonight's Europa Conference League match, still Copenhagen 0, Hearts 0 after 39 minutes in Denmark. That was the Daily Mirror's senior sports writer Neil McLeman there, giving us a view on the Tottenham side of things. And thank you very much to Record Sports' Andy Newport for joining us from Ibrox. Thanks to you at home for watching and for everyone that sent in comments. And we'll be back to do it all again on Sunday after the showdown in the League Cup final between Celtic and Rangers at Hampden. Hope you can join us then. Thanks for watching.